Well, character education is part of educating the whole person. I think most all of the students who attend Harvard, where I work, are very interested in getting a job when they finish, and preferably a very good one. But we also want to see them grow as people. We want to see them grow in their ability to reason ethically, to think about complex moral issues. But we also want to see them actually grow more ethical. We want to see them demonstrate courage and virtues like self-control. We want them to show love to their neighbors. And so character education is an approach to education that says we want to integrate the studies that we do in disciplines like history or psychology or any other discipline with actual lived life. And so we want to see our students flourishing as they grow. I think many universities actually find it quite difficult to talk about character education. Maybe because they question whether there is such a thing as character, or wonder whether faculty, professors, universities are really the best people to undertake that kind of work. Certainly universities can't do it by themselves. Parents, communities, religious institutions, there are a lot of institutions that can contribute to character education. But universities can do a whole lot as well. I think they are uniquely able to introduce students to the great human tradition of reflecting about character and virtue. The question, what is the good life and how should we live it, is maybe the most fundamental question that human beings have asked over the ages. And the universities are the places where scholars have the expertise to actually investigate that tradition. And so I think they're essential. Universities are essential for character education. I suspect the answer is that in some disciplines it matters more than in others. There are some technical disciplines, mathematics or physics, where the answers are what the answers are, quite apart from the character of the teacher. Although there are, of course, ways to do mathematics in a way that contributes to the well-being of a community. But I think it does actually matter what the character of a professor is. Now, I don't think that all faculty members, all professors need to be paragons of virtue. Not many of us could teach if that were the case. But I do think that we can invite students to join us on a journey of growth, to reflect about our history, about our ethical traditions we might come from, or ethical traditions that are quite different than ours, so that we can live a more meaningful life. The question of the role of friendship in character education is a very important one. And I don't think that many people actually learn character simply by reading books or listening to lectures. I can certainly think of important books in my life that have been very important in how I think about my purpose in this world and the way I ought to live in it. But I think friendship is essential. Aristotle talked about friendships of virtue, which were friendships, the highest level of friendship in which one friend would recognize the virtue in another. That is something we can aspire to. There might be something slightly lower than that, which is to say, friends can recognize the desire to grow in virtue in the other and contribute to it. Most of us, if we think about the reasons we've grown to be the people we are, we'll think immediately of people, of parents, maybe of primary school teachers, of neighbors, of extended family members, of friends. And I think that there are certain things that we learn best in communities. And so I think universities can aspire to be one of those communities. Professors can try to create those sorts of communities in their universities and their classrooms. Reading is very important in character education because in books we inherit the legacy of the past. All of us can at best hope to stand on the shoulders of giants. None of us, I think, can realistically expect to reason ourselves from a point of a 0 point to full knowledge about virtue or character. And so we ought to avail ourselves of the best that has been thought and taught over the centuries. And there are very rich traditions that we can mine to do that. So I think books are quite important. I think one of the best ways to read is to understand the past as an ongoing conversation precisely on these questions, and realize that there are different voices and perspectives in that conversation. And then as we read and as we teach texts, we actually are entering into it as well. I do think that some character traits help more in some professions. There are certainly caring professions in which compassion and love are particularly important. I think that there are baseline character traits that probably are needed in every profession. In education and in the university setting, I think courage is a particularly important virtue, the courage to investigate honestly and to speak the truth when we find it. And I think some perseverance and self-denial for study can be essential as it can be long and lonely, as any student or scholar has no doubt discovered by now. It's important to think about how to manage failure. It would be nice if we could expect our life and our studies to be one success after another, but I think all of us very quickly learn that that's not how life works. But failures can be opportunities as well. Oftentimes failures allow us to reconsider decisions we've made or assumptions we've made. They may cause us to reflect about our own character and discover things that might not be convenient to think about but are important to think about our character. And I think that if we are careful, we can create communities that support one another in successes and failures both. I think it's essential that a leader be humble. Now, it takes a certain kind of confidence to be able to lead a group of people to a place where they've not been before, a kind of moral vision. And the best leaders have that. But I think the best leaders recognize that they are servants as well as leaders. And I can think about leaders I respect who are almost always people who are willing to sacrifice. They're willing to spend time with even the very humble people they lead. And so I think humility is essential. It's also important for leaders to recognize that they don't actually have all of the answers to all of the questions that they're confronted with, and that they need others to help them do that. So the best leaders will always gather people around them with expertise and wisdom that they might lack, and be able to lead more effectively because of it.